Social media. It's all part of marketing. You knew we couldn't get through marketing in just one episode, so we're going to make it 2 episodes. And tonight, it's all about social media and it's all about you. What are your struggles? What are you having a hard time with? How can I help you? Stay tuned. Hey gang, I am Joe Edelman and welcome to a new episode of The Last Frame Live. So before I go any further, let me just tell you that I'm running a little experiment tonight. That experiment is hopefully I am going live on both YouTube and Facebook simultaneously. So if you're watching on Facebook, use the comment section next to the video, type in your name, let me know where you're watching from. If you're on YouTube, you've already started, type in your name, let me know where you're watching from. It's always fun to see where people are checking in from. I will be doing my best to keep track of the comments on both platforms. And obviously, I want your questions tonight. But please, you're all part of a growing community of photographers in over 100 countries that have been tuning in weekly to watch The Last Frame Live. And for that, I'm going to do my darndest in the next 60 minutes to help you as much as we possibly can with your social media trials and tribulations. So before we dig in, we have some breaking news this afternoon, if you will. It was announced by Emerald Expositions, which is the company that operates both PhotoPlus in New York City and WPPI in Las Vegas. PhotoPlus 2021, which would have been at the end of October, has been canceled. Not postponed, canceled. It's not happening. So the next PhotoPlus in the United States will be in October of 2022 with dates and more information to be announced. In fact, I will grab the link here. There is an article online, and I apologize. I thought I had the link here. It is in the show notes on YouTube, so you can check it out there. Or just go to the PhotoPlus website and you'll find all the information. At this point, they're basically saying, listen, because of COVID concerns, we're going to push for this year and we'll be back next year, bigger and better than ever, of course. So the next big photo show in the US hopefully will be in March in Las Vegas, and that will be WPPI. Oh, excuse me. No, I'm wrong. The next big photo show in the US will be in January. And that's ImagingUSA, which is going to happen at the National Harbor near Washington, D.C. I'll be speaking at that event. More details to come. And then after that, WPPI in March. So hopefully next year we'll be back to a full card of events. I do know that Shutterfest is happening right now in St. Louis, for good, for bad, or for other. It's taking place. So I wish everybody there a great time. Shutterfest is always an awesome learning opportunity, a lot of fun, a lot of partying, all kind of good stuff, but also hopefully everybody is going to stay safe and it's not going to be one of those events that we regret, right? Okay, so for those of you that are coming in maybe a little bit after 6 o'clock, let me just give you a heads up. We're trying something a little bit different tonight. The Last Frame Live is being simulcast both on YouTube and on Facebook. So you can actually watch the stream on my Facebook page, which as long as all goes well, my game plan is to continue doing the simulcast. I've finally, I think, have the technology all worked out. And we're going to try and keep it kind of going that way so that we can expand the audience and make it accessible to even more people. All right. So our topic tonight, I want to dive in. I want to have as much time as possible for this. I am really, really hoping that I can count on you folks for questions because I want to make it about you. In fact, if you read the title and you read the description, my title is, What's Your Why? In fact, I just saw a question. It just popped up. So Don, this was perfect timing. He says, my main problem is knowing what to post. I shoot in different genres, and I'm wondering if it's detrimental to post a potpourri of different genres of images, or should I focus on just one? I'll come back to your answer, but your question's a great setup for what's your why. I find as I talk to photographers, and in fact, I gave a presentation last night, just last evening, for a camera club in Columbia, South Carolina, and it was a presentation on social media. And a lot of what I'm hearing from photographers is, yeah, I know I got to up my social media game and I try to post as often as I can, but I feel like I'm wasting my time. I'm not getting the kind of interaction and engagement that I need. And I don't know if it's really building my business. And when I ask them, why do they post on social media? The best answer that most people come up with is, well, because I have to if I want people to notice me, don't I? And gosh, that's the wrong approach, folks. So for starters, can we kind of get everybody on the same page a little bit about social media? Because I know a lot of you have honestly some really bad feelings towards social media. And look, my side of social media is I love it and I hate it. But you know what? The stuff that I hate, unfortunately, it's just the fact that some people are jerks. That's what I hate about social media. Other than that, social media is awesome. It is a gift because number one, we didn't have to pay to build it. We don't pay to use it. It's amazing. It allows us to be in touch with people from all over the world, just like we're doing right now. That's incredible. But here's the thing. And look, I want to make sure that I'm being very clear as I give you some of these thoughts that I'm going to ask you to process. I'm guilty of the very mistakes that I'm going to tell you about. I don't want you to think, and I apologize if at any point I sound like, oh, I'm better than you when it comes to this. Yes, I've built a large following. I've got over a quarter of a million followers on social media. In fact, just yesterday, I was verified on Facebook, which was really cool. Not that that makes me any more money, but I'm verified, right? So, but the fact of the matter is, all of these problems that I'm about to highlight right now, I've had the same problems, and I still, from time to time, have the same problems. So let me tell you the number one problem, and this is really at the root of how you can resolve your social media issues for pretty much all of you. Number one, I've already said, know why you're posting. What are you actually trying to accomplish with your social media? In other words, maybe you just want to share your images, get some feedback, find like-minded individuals who you can get to know and talk with. That's cool. That's your why. Maybe you are trying to build a business. Well, then that's your why. Knowing your why allows you to hold yourself accountable. Every time you create a post, every time you write a caption, every time you reply to a comment, every time you make a comment, know your why. Now, the next biggest problem that people have, but since I'm talking to photographers, that photographers have, is they forget one key element about social media. Social media is not a product of technology, gang. Social media doesn't exist because of computers, and it's certainly Mark Zuckerberg and Facebook, they didn't create social media. Social media is simply people adapting and using technology to be social. Well, most people are being social with it, right? But here's the problem. We forget that on the other end of this thing is a person. Regardless of what our why is, we're trying to connect with somebody on the other end. Whether we want that person to admire what we do, whether we want to find somebody who does similar things to us, whether we want somebody to say, wow, look at that, I need to hire that person. Doesn't matter which it is, we're trying to connect with someone. It's really easy when you're staring down at your little screen in your hands or you're staring at your computer screen. It's really easy to forget that you're talking to a human being. And again, I'm guilty of that. It's hard. So don't beat yourself up too much, but you have to keep reminding yourself. Now, with that premise in mind, that we're doing this social media to be social beings, right? That also means that as photographers, there's a couple other really bad habits that you have to be careful of. Right out of the box, there's one that I try hard, but I'm not perfect at. That is, in fact, I'm not going to tell you what it is. Let me give you a comparison first. If you were at a social event, like a cocktail party, in person, right? If someone came up to you and said, God, I love that shirt. That's really cool. That tie, that's awesome. Dude, did you get a new haircut since I saw you last? That looks great. If somebody came up to you and said those things, you wouldn't just turn around and walk away without responding. I mean, that would be straight up rude, right? You would thank them. Say, gosh, I appreciate it. It's cool that you noticed. You would respond in kind. But yet on social media, somebody leaves you a comment. Somebody leaves you a like, a thumbs up, a heart, and you don't respond. It's rude. Now, I'm not making excuses. I'm just being honest. I'm not perfect at that. I try really hard. In fact, I guarantee you, for YouTube channels and social media people with a following my size, I have a much higher engagement rate. That's the word the social media platforms use than anybody else, because I work really, really hard to reply, but I'm not perfect. I try. And it's really, really important, because if somebody's going to take the time to tell me that I've done something good, it's only polite to say thank you and to let them know I appreciate that. And here's the first little pro tip of the night, gang. Doesn't matter what social media platform you're on, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, you name it, doesn't matter. They reward you. They show your posts to more people, to more non-followers, based on the amount of engagement that you have. Engagement, conversation. In other words, being social. So understand that the social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all of them, YouTube even, they don't look at the idea that you're posting something. That's not you being social as far as they're concerned. Social is when people are talking. Social is when people are engaged. Social is when people are interacting. Now, of course, we all know that ultimately, what do the social media platforms want to happen? They want people to spend time on their website, and they want people to stay there. Of course, who wouldn't, right? Why would you build this thing if you didn't want people to stay there? Because the longer people stay there, the more people become comfortable with the platform, the more people become aligned with the platform, the more advertising they're able to sell and show you. So, of course, that's what they want. So they reward us, the users, by the amount of engagement we have. How much time are we spending on the platform, and how much time are we encouraging other people to spend? Not by saying, hey, spend time here, but by getting people to interact. Heck, even on YouTube, YouTube gives credit to to the creator of a video. Even if someone comes to the video, stays for 50% of the video, but then goes and watches 6 other videos. That first video that they came to, that creator actually gets engagement credit towards that entire stay. Because even though the person didn't watch the entire video, which is a ding on their channel, the fact is they stayed on YouTube for quite a while. So they were the entrance. The platforms want engagement. So the thing of it is, okay, when someone leaves you a comment, when somebody says something nice, respond. At a minimum, if you're uber busy, give it a thumbs up, give it a heart, something, just to at least let people know that you saw their comment. But understand, don't be lazy. Because if you're lazy, and you're not going to build that kind of engagement. You're also not going to build the brand loyalty if you're not actually engaging, right? So right out of the box, those are probably the biggest mistakes that I see happen over and over and over again from the people who will complain or whine or express frustration. I just can't make social media work for me. And I run into so many people with so many excuses. But honestly, it all comes down to actually being a decent human being and being social, right? It just does. All of that is easier to do if you understand your why. Why are you doing social media in the first place? What are you trying to accomplish, right? It really is that simple. Now, look, I don't want to sugarcoat the social media thing. I do swear to you, it's as basic as what I'm telling you. But the part that I'm not going to sugarcoat takes some effort, folks, right? So that's why knowing your why is the important thing, because the fact of the matter is you could be extremely successful on social media, extremely successful with, I don't know, 200 followers. If those 200 followers satisfy your why. Maybe you are just looking for some like-minded photographers in your area who do similar things that you hope to be able to maybe go and hang out with. Well, then you don't need 200,000 followers to do that, do you? Right? So same, with the idea of making money. If you live in a small town and you're going to shoot portraits and weddings, having 1 million followers doesn't help you because the overwhelming majority of that 1 million followers is never going to put a dime in your pocket. You're just not, right? So you don't need big numbers. You need people that find value in what you post. And that brings me to the next piece. People will say to me routinely, and I'm actually going to pause in a second because I see some really good comments and I want to touch on them. People will say to me routinely, I just don't know what to say. I just don't know how to say it. I just don't know how to connect with my followers or my potential customers. It's not a secret sauce. In fact, the best thing you could do is you could imagine that you are meeting somebody in person. In other words, stop thinking of it through here and just imagine that you've just met someone and you're talking to them. And when you write your caption or when you post your things, imagine it that you're posting it to that person. Create a persona. That's what advertising agencies will do. They will create a persona who is the perfect customer. And they'll figure out everything about them, their likes, their dislikes, all that kind of stuff. And that's who you're talking to. That's who you're writing to. But your posts need to provide value. Now, that's one of those statements that I throw around a lot. And I know for some people, they hear it, but they may not hear the whole description. And then they kind of like, well, what does that mean? Provide value. Okay. It's actually really simple. Stop thinking that people actually give a damn about your photographs. That's the first thing. Because they don't. Now, hopefully I have your attention. So humor me for a second and let me break that down. Because I'm not trying to be a jerk or be smart. I'm trying to give you a little bit of dose of reality. Here's why. Regardless of what genre you shoot, regardless of whether you're doing it for fun and you want to find friends and like-minded people, or if you're looking for clients, doesn't matter. No other human being other than you is going to have the same experience with the photograph that you post. You had the experience of getting to know the subject or traveling to that location or experiencing that location. You interacted with the subject. You edited or culled through your images. You processed that image. You potentially tried something that you've never done before. You potentially accomplished something with that image that you've never accomplished before. Hence, you're proud of it and you're excited. When that image goes up online, no one, even if it's the model in the picture, they're not going to have the same experience that you did. It just doesn't work that way. So as a result, all of you photographers that like to just post pictures. So I had a gentleman, and I can't find his exact comment, but I had a gentleman post on one of my Facebook pages today that, he just really struggles with getting engagement on his social media posts, and he's just not sure if he should give up or what he should do next. And it's actually really simple. This is a gentleman that's local to me. I'm familiar with his posts, and he's actually a great photographer. But he does what so many photographers do on social media, and the social media term for it is shouting. Now, I don't mean typing in all caps. That's shouting too. The social media version of shouting for photographers is just posting a picture with a couple of hashtags. Or, posting a picture, hashtag throwback Thursday, whatever. Like, why should anybody care about that photograph? Do you really think, and I'm not picking on any of you because this applies to me too, do you really think that that image is so amazing that just its existence on that page should make people care? What are people going to connect with? What is it about that image that people are like, oh my God, and they just have to leave a comment? That's not how it works. You need to create a connection. You need to provide some value with that image. Connections are emotional. Actually, this Saturday is the 20th anniversary of 9/11. All of you can immediately picture images from 9/11 in your heads. Even if you're not from the United States, you can picture in your heads images from 9/11. Why is that? There are indeed a few images from 9/11 that are quote unquote iconic. But there's hundreds, literally hundreds of thousands of others. 9/11 was the first major disaster that was universally covered digitally, and it is the most photographed disaster in the world to date. So there are tons of images, but why do they stick in our minds? It's the emotion. It's the story behind it. It's an incredible story. Lots of emotion. So obviously the problem is if you go out and you photograph a covered bridge, or you take a nice portrait, or you shoot a model, none of that is going to rise to the emotional level or the connection of 9/11. Of course not. And it doesn't have to, but you have to create a connection. So first of all, that means what you're going to start doing, all of you, you're going to start actually writing captions. Now, look, you don't have to be a journalist. You don't have to be an amazing writer, but all you got to do, literally all you got to do. I mean, yes, gang, spelling and grammar, at least pay a little bit of attention, because you know what? You can open up a Google Doc. You can open up Microsoft Word. You can open up any of those, and it's going to do the spell check and grammar check for you. So look, I mean, really, there's no excuse for bad spelling and that kind of stuff. So just, let's grow up and let's deal with that kind of stuff. We don't need that. Plus, it does reflect poorly on you, especially if you're trying to make money, okay? But my point is, you don't have to be a creative writer. You don't have to be able to structure prose that is just going to make people swoon. Just imagine that there's a person standing right in front of you, and you're telling them something about that picture. Now, remember, this person, well, if you're looking for followers that are other photographers, you can talk about your settings, talk about how you took the picture, talk about how you came up with the idea, talk about what problems you solved, that kind of stuff. Let's say you're a portrait photographer and you want to get new portrait clients. Your portrait clients, they're not going to care what lens you use. They don't care what camera you use. They don't care what kind of lighting. They don't care about your settings. So don't bother them with that stuff. What do they care about? So they're going to see your pictures online, Instagram, Facebook, on your website. By the time they reach out to you and say, hey, I'm interested in doing a session with you, understand that they've essentially already made up their mind. They like your work. They saw your work. They're interested. So it's your booking to take, literally like take it, okay? And it's your booking to lose at that point because it's in your lap. So that brings us to the idea of then, well, what is it they're really interested in? If they're not interested in the pictures at that point, well, of course they want to know about the price. Everybody wants to know about the price, right? But even that's not the case because if your work's good enough, price doesn't matter. Literally. What matters is, are you a jerk? Are you nice? Are you funny? What's it going to be like to work with you? Especially like for a bride. She's going to spend the most important day of her life with you and trust you to photograph the most important day of her life. If she's seen your photographs, she's sold by the time she reaches out to you. She wants to know, what are you like? So now, I'm not suggesting, don't make that leap. I'm not suggesting that you start putting up posts that say, well, I'm a really nice guy and I'm passionate about photography. No, don't use cheap words because you literally wouldn't say those things if a person was standing in front of you. That's the point. So many photographers think that, oh, it's my website or I'm on social media. I have to talk like a fancy marketer. No, you don't. I mean, it doesn't hurt if you can do that sincerely, but it's not a big deal. It's really, really not. Be real. So imagine that you're talking to a person in front of you and share something about it. And better yet, don't make it about you. So if you are one of those folks that's trying to make money, talk about your subject. Talk about how cool they were. Talk about how much fun you had working with them. Talk about what you learned from them. Okay. Talk about maybe some of the planning that went into play because this person had a hobby and you really wanted to be able to include that into the photo shoot. So you went around and you looked for the right spot and figured out it'd be neat at nighttime and, whatever. But by doing that, you're demonstrating, in your own words, nothing fancy. You're demonstrating how passionate you are about what you do. You're demonstrating how hard you work to do what you do. And you're giving people that answer to, what kind of person are you? To say I'm passionate is shallow, cheap, and easy, and people ignore it. To tell stories that demonstrate your passion without using the word, those are powerful. They create an emotional connection. So, no shouting. Well, back up one. Understand your why. No shouting. Make connections. Provide value. If you want people to care, provide value. The other thing is, next moving on, make sure that you're posting in the right places. It's interesting. So my little poll that I have up at the top of the chat on YouTube, let's see here, where we at? We had 57 people that voted up to this point, and 67% post mostly on Instagram, 30% post on Facebook. There's 2% Twitter, 2% Pinterest. And of course, what I don't know from this poll is how many are doing it professionally, how many are doing it amateur. It's a basic poll that YouTube allows us to do. But here's the thing, believe it or not, many, many more people use Facebook than use Instagram. So if your why is trying to connect with people who are age 30 and up, especially, you don't really have to bother with Instagram. If your why is trying to connect with people in their early 30s or below, then you should be on Instagram. Now, how do I know this stuff? It's uber easy to find this stuff out. Okay. In fact, here, let me just switch my screen. And I shared a link to this company last week, Pew Research Center. Okay. These folks do tremendous amounts of research. The one link that I shared last week with the chart was from Pew. But they give some real simple breakdowns here. And I will, in fact, here, I'll share this link in the chat. And for those of you that are watching live on Facebook, I am going to apologize because I am not seeing the Facebook comments tonight. So if you have a question and you are watching live on Facebook, I am going to apologize tremendously. Oh, and here's the comments, but I can't get to the comments. Oh no. Let me just see here really quick, gang, if I can actually figure out how the heck to get to the comments on Facebook. I am really sorry. I thought they were going to show up the way that I had this set up, but they didn't. Oh, here we go. Okay, cool. Now I've got the Facebook comments going too. All right. So, oh, there's some good stuff here. Jody. Hi, Jody. I hope you're still here. Sorry, I just saw the comment. So anyway, let's look at this Pew Research information really quick, and then I want to get to some questions here. And I'm going to leave plenty of time for questions. So number one, interestingly enough, and I'll be honest, some of this information surprised me. And so the way we have to interpret this information is not like as the gospel. It's not black and white. That's it. But we have to realize that maybe our own habits are influencing our perceptions of what we should be doing and where people are, because this is going to be much more accurate research than just what we think our experience has been. That's just, trust me, I'm married to a research scientist, gang, okay? She frequently proves to me that when I'm convinced because this is how I see it and this is what I do, I have no clue, okay? So research is done in a very structured way. Pew Research, they're like top of the heap for this stuff, okay? So this is not, this stuff is not politically biased. This stuff is not, just done for the heck of it on a whim. This is done with proper criteria for research, okay? So interestingly enough, YouTube and Facebook still number one and number two, with YouTube being the number one. I'm going to scroll way down here. There's a chart. So here, in terms of total users, okay, 81% on YouTube of people that use social media, okay? In fact, by the way, I'm sorry for all the scrolling. I want to go back up here. There was a statistic that I saw that completely blew my mind when I found this. Where are we at here? Let me see if I can find this again. 7 in 10 Americans, 7 in 10 don't use social media. I thought freaking everybody used social media. I would have believed it easily if you told me like 2 out of 10. 7 in 10 don't use social media. So that being said, let's back down here. YouTube, Facebook, Instagram drops off dramatically. They provide a lot of background information in here in terms of demographics by race, demographics by age, all that information is there. So I'm not going to go through it all now. I'm going to let you guys read it. It's good information. I put the link in the chat. I will share the link in the Facebook comments, and I will also make sure that I add this link to the description underneath the video for those of you that are watching later, okay? Another thing that I stumbled on when I read this, that I'm just going to point this out because this is a money-making thing. I have an app that my neighborhood uses. It's called Nextdoor or Nextdoor Neighbor, okay? Turns out Nextdoor is actually growing quite a solid user base. And when I read this information, it's kind of the light bulb went on. I'm like, duh, for photographers who are doing portraits, photographers who are doing business headshots, photographers that are doing weddings, Nextdoor is not a platform I would have considered, but they are working into turning it into more of a social media type platform. And it is actually a great opportunity to be posting and to be marketing. So that being said, I'm going to put that on hold for a minute, and I want to get to some questions because there's a bunch of questions here, okay? I'm going to scroll back up in my... So let's see. So starting with Marquis. Marquis said here, my struggles now is that, not only second guessing what I post, but how to gain clients through social media, whether it's paid or not. So again, the biggest thing is, Marquis, number one, understand your why. So you got part of the why in your question. You want to gain clients. And part of the problem is you're second guessing yourself. But what kind of clients are you after, right? That's really the key. So make sure you know who are you after. And then once you know who you're after, what your task is, looking at some of these demographics from Pew Research that I just shared, where are those clients? Where can they be found? So Marquis, I met recently in North Carolina when I was there for the Carolina Photo Expo. So I know the kind of clients he's after. And indeed, Facebook and Instagram would be perfect for you, Marquis. So your challenge is, again, when you are posting, tell little stories about the people, tell little stories about the shoot. Understand, for all of you, you don't have to post 10 pictures for everything you do. You've all heard me say it many times. You can look like a rock star with 5. You can look like a hack with 10. If we're talking social media, it's more like you can look like a rock star with 1 and you can look like a hack with 3. Okay? So only ever post your best shots, because while you're excited about those pictures, no one else is going to have the same experience. And if those pictures are indeed that amazing, instead of posting 3, turn it into 3 separate posts. Tell 3 separate little pieces of information. Okay, when I'm saying like tell a little story, I don't mean you got to write 500 words for crying out loud. But share something more than like, here, wedding from last Saturday, or worse yet, my photographer favorite. They post a picture. It's like, cool portrait session. You ready to book yours? Like, why should they book you just because you posted a stupid picture online? Like, I'm sorry, gang, but that's not going to motivate anybody to book you. That's just not how it works. Give them a reason. Give them a reason. Say, hey, I have availability Saturday, 1 o'clock. What do you think? People just sit around all week like, refresh, refresh, refresh. Are they going to be free? Are they going to be free? No, come on. Like, you don't do that. So why do you think your customers do that? Like, the thing is, gang, seriously, it's not rocket science. It's just not. Right? It's one of those lessons we learned as a kid, especially if you went to church. But even if you didn't go to church, you learn the same lesson. Treat people the way you would want to be treated. So how often have you seen somebody post something on Facebook where, hey, show up in 2 hours and I'll take your money and I'll give you something for it? How often have you gone running out the door saying, oh my God, yeah. Look, I get it. Maybe you've done that once here or there for something, but probably not for a photo shoot. Especially not if you were in front of the camera. Just saying, right? So think it through, okay? All right, scrolling down here. I know I got a bunch more. Don said his main problem is knowing what to post. So I read this one earlier. I shoot in different genres. So let's get to your answer, Don, because he shoots in different genres and he's wondering if it's detrimental to post a potpourri of different genres or images, or should I focus on just one? So Don, the easy answer for me is to tell you, well, just one that's better. And that's the analogy of better not to be, a jack of all trades and a master of none, but to be an expert. However, right? It depends on what the genres are, Don. So if you want to give me another comment and give me, a list of kind of what those genres are, if the genres are dramatically different and you're trying to make money, then you may want to set up some different profiles, which is an option, right? You can have multiple Instagram profiles. You can have multiple Facebook profiles. So that's an option, right? And that way you keep them separate and you market them independently. That's a little more work. But again, it's not that we have to have millions of followers, gang. We just have to find the people that are going to be willing to put money in your pockets or follow you and engage with you, right? So it's really going to depend on what genres we're talking about and how many we're talking about, Don. So give me some more information, okay? And I will help you out with that, okay? So let's see here. From Brock. Brock on Facebook said, I can't get any clients no matter where I post. It's hard to get past the good old boy system. Well, Brock, unfortunately, there's not much I can really help you with there because, see, when I read stuff like that, I'm going to be honest, and I'm not trying to pick on you, Brock, but like all I hear is negative Nancy. It's easy to say what you can't do. It's harder to make things happen, right? I am the eternal optimist that way. I struggle with people that when you give them a suggestion, they've got 50 reasons why it won't work and 0 why it will, right? And even if they decide that your idea is bad, they don't have another idea. It won't work. So there's no helping that person. So, Brock, if you want to give me some information about what kind of, work you're doing, who that good old boy system is, then I can potentially help you. Certainly, the first thing that comes to my mind is like for photographers that want to do like school sports. Yes, here in the United States, there's a good old boy system where, number one, the photographer or the photography company is giving a kickback back to the school. And, once you get in, people like fight to hang on to that. That could be a challenge, but it's not impossible. It's just not, right? So give me a little bit more information and I might be able to help you out. But, the key is, honestly, you have to want to, find solutions. They provide to, a lot of back. So otherwise, give me a little bit more information. Okay. And let's see here. There was another one. Gabe asked, "Can you post too much on social media and ruin your reputation?" Well, quantity they provide is a lot of almost never. Otherwise, give me a little bit more the way to win. Period. Right. So let's start there. There was another one. Quality is the key. Can you post too much? But Gabe, if you're talking about like posting too much in terms of like getting on social media, and quantity about a politician never or medical advice in the middle of the pandemic or that kind of stuff, can you ruin your reputation with that? Quality, sure, absolutely. But Gabe, if you're talking about, I'm not gonna lie, gang. I am of the mentality that if a politician, I have a delayed echo going on. Do I really? So let's. Can you ruin your reputation? Quality, sure, absolutely. That may have just started, gang. Let's see if that double audio stops now. My apologies. Give me a heads up in just a second, okay? So, if you're, doing the political thing, if you're on there and you're bitching about, the the pandemic or wearing masks or getting vaccines and that kind of stuff, yeah, that's potentially gonna, cause you problems with your reputation. It's potentially gonna cause you followers. It's potentially gonna cost you business. And honestly, I am okay, gang, we're all squared with the audio thing. It was my end. It was totally my fault. I was trying to get the Facebook comments there and it was actually playing. I didn't realize it was playing. We're good. So I'm of the mentality, which maybe this is a bit harsh, but if you're a photographer and you want followers, or if you're a photographer and you're trying to build business and you're going to get out there and start bitching about the stuff that's going on in the world, you deserve to have your reputation ruined. You deserve to lose business. You deserve to lose followers. And I'll tell you why. Number one, it's just inherently stupid to begin with. But number two, look, right now in this world, not just in the United States, there is enough divisiveness. Don't add to it because you're not solving anything. I have a simple philosophy about complaining. Any moron, yes, moron, can point out a problem. What does that do for us, right? Doesn't do anything for us. Provide value. So by bitching about all the stuff that's going on in the world, you're not providing any value. Get out there and work on a solution. Make sure you vote. Do what has to be done. That's different, right? So, let's see here. And all right, I'm caught up on the Facebook, I believe. See if I got any responses there. From Joey Garcia, what advice can you give someone who knows the craft but does not know the business? Joey, there's this thing called the Google, and it's great. And I'm not trying to be like smart, but start simple. Joey, if you're in the United States, I would aggressively encourage you to join PPA. So it's ppa.com. I will, in fact, actually, if you go back 2 weeks, I think it's 2 weeks on the last frame, that episode was sponsored by PPA. And the link is still valid. You can use the link in that episode. In fact, here, I'll track it down. You can use the link in that episode and you can get your first month for free. But the reason why I mentioned that one is that PPA has tremendous resources for learning business, setting prices, all of that kind of stuff. And, son of a gun, it wasn't 2 weeks ago. Okay, let's find this. I apologize, gang. I do want to help Joey out here with, there it is, right there. Okay, so let me grab that link, copy link address.
Hey,
All
gang,
right,
I am
Joey,
excited to
I
let
am
you
gonna
know
put
that this episode of
right
The Last
underneath
Frame
your
Live is
comments.
sponsored by PPA, Professional Photographers of America.
And
PPA is a
let's see
worldwide
here.
community of over 30,000
I know.
photographers
Echo, it went
that
away. Don't
provides
worry.
equipment
Okay.
and
There you go. It's gonna stop. Okay, so that link should get you there, Joey. Okay. All right. So let's see here. Some stuff that's on YouTube. Let's see. Photomix Media, Google Business is a place that you would recommend. Yes and no. Generally, yes. What I mean by that is if you are doing like portraits, weddings, even commercial advertising work, and if you have a physical business address, absolutely do Google Business and make sure. Here's the thing about Google Business, gang. There's value to making sure that you have a Google Business listing. That's important. Yes, that helps. But here's the real key to Google Business. It's the reviews. So you want to make sure if you're going to set up Google Business and you're going to try and build, a Google Business profile, it's getting the reviews. Ask your customers for reviews. Incentivize them. Go back to my Talk Chat Photography podcast. You can find it on my website and listen to the interview that I did with Tracy McGlosky. She shoots newborns and maternity and weddings in Cincinnati, Ohio. Tracy had some awesome tips for how, and they're brilliant, for how she gets reviews at the session before the people leave. She gets them to post a review. She doesn't give them anything. She doesn't pay for them. None of it's underhanded. It's all completely organic, but it's all about setting the stage to make it happen. And the way she does it, absolutely brilliant. So I would encourage you to check that out. Okay. Let's see here. And from Steve, my problem with social media is that it always seems to lead to some sort of gear wars and less on photography. Well, Steve, it depends on who you're posting for, right? So let's go back to the why. You're not giving me enough context. If you're posting in a Facebook group, yeah. Most Facebook groups, not mine, most Facebook groups are nothing but middle-aged white trolls. Like, sorry, I know that I'm going to get struck down for that, but you know what? That's how it is. And you all know it. You all know that I'm just keeping it real, okay? Everybody's got to get the testosterone kicked in. It's like, well, my camera's better than yours, and that picture's a piece of crap because it's missing the rule of thirds, right? Like, what the hell? That's not photography. So if that's where you're getting gear wars, Steve, there's a real simple solution. Get the hell out of the groups. Find the good groups. Mine's not the only good group on Facebook. There are a lot of good groups. You don't have to be in 75 of them. Find the one that the moderators are actively involved and they maintain standards. If you're posting like on, let's say, your personal page, Steve, and you're trying to get, I'm just picking a genre here, you're trying to get portrait customers, and some bozo that you know or that you friended along the way comes in and says something about gear when you're sharing your stuff, that's not a friend. Unfriend them, block them, delete their post, whatever. I have no problem. Look, gang, some of you have figured this out already. I am not the only teacher. My version of photography is not the only version of photography, but I'm busting my butt to share what I do. When people debate me, unless they're debating me in a way where they're offering usable information and they're actually having discourse, meaning, instead of debating, saying, I was always taught it should be this way. What's the difference to what you're suggesting, Joe? That's the appropriate way to ask it. That's how you would have asked a teacher in school. If somebody just comes in and does the you're wrong crap, gone. That post is deleted. I have no patience. For one very simple reason. It's disrespectful. Remember what I told you about, remember, there's a person on the other end of the phone. Those of you that follow me, know full well, I don't have some political agenda. I don't have some agenda. I'm not out here willfully misleading people. And I do sometimes make mistakes, and I correct those mistakes. when they're made. But I will not tolerate any jackass just being rude, period. So you don't have to leave those people on your profile, Steve. And if they're your friends, and when I say friends, I mean Facebook friends, whatever, lose them because they're not really friends, because they're not respecting you and what you're doing. Unfortunately, we have this pervasive attitude where people think because something's on Facebook, it is their right to just be a jackass and say something that is dismissive. And let me be clear, I'm not proud of this, but back in the day, I did that a couple times, probably more than a couple. It was kind of that learning and growing up on social media. Honest, okay? But keep the focus. There's a person on the other end. You wouldn't say things that way if that person was standing right in front of you, because 99% of you wouldn't have the guts to say it that way to somebody's face. So don't say it that way online. Again, be the solution. Don't feed the problem, right? It's the same with, bitching about politics or this or that or whatever else. Be the solution. Don't feed the problem. It just makes things better all the way around, right? Makes things better. Okay. Let's see here. Alvaro, I think one thing is when someone leaves a comment and another is when they only leave a thumbs up or a heart. Alvaro, it depends on how big. So basically he's saying he thinks it's important that, hey, if somebody leaves a comment, you should respond. But if they only leave a thumbs up or a heart, do you really need to respond? It depends on how many followers you have, and it depends on how many you're trying to grow your following to. Okay. Believe me, if I had a working philosophy that said I need to respond to, even if it was just every heart, I wouldn't have any time to generate content or to do work, okay? Which that's a great problem to have, but that's not practical. But if you've got a very, very small following and you're just starting out and you're trying to build that following, hell yeah. If you see somebody thumbed up, get a thumbs up or a heart on one of your pictures or one of your posts, click to see who it was and then mention them. Do an @ in front of their name in the reply and thank them for that. Absolutely. Okay. Because that is going to build brand loyalty. That's going to make people realize, like, wow, he's a nice guy. So do you have to? No. But if you're just starting out and you're trying to build, that's going to help you build an audience much faster, hands down. Okay. From Alvin, my why is that I don't spend a lot of time on the main social media platforms, but I'm on Discord and Twitch, but only follow a group of photographers, and it's growing slowly. So yeah, I mean, Discord and Twitch, Alvin, I'm actually not going to consider that for my conversation. I'm not even going to consider those in terms of social media, only in the sense that you're not going to go to Discord and Twitch and get people to pay you for your services. If you're simply looking for like-minded people, yes, there are people with Discord servers, even like, oh, that is so horrible. I totally drew a blank on his name. My goodness. Seth Miranda. My goodness. All right. Seth Miranda does a lot of stuff on Discord and Twitch. Believe it or not, I actually have a Discord server, but I've never actually, got it going. But yeah, that's not really going to be a marketing platform so much as it is as a social platform. And that's fine. Like, that's totally fine. Okay. Sniper photography, likes and followers don't pay the bills. That is absolutely correct. But if you are trying to make money as a photographer, your challenge is to turn those likes and followers into customers. It's called conversions. That's marketing. That's business. Okay. Let's see, Diego, and this is why it's important. Yes. Okay. So we got that. And scrolling on down here. Oh, Don's answer was mostly landscapes, macros, street, and portraiture. So yeah, I mean, Don, it sounds to me like the landscapes, macros, and street are probably kind of your fun things, and portraiture is where you're maybe trying to make some money. And if that's the case, separate portraits by itself and then do the others as kind of your fun photography. If you're not trying to make money, Don, it honestly doesn't matter at all. Okay. Put them all together and still share stories, provide value, help people, connect. One of the members in my Facebook group had commented earlier today that I have a hard time connecting with people. And again, let me just reiterate, when I say connecting with people, it's simply a matter of imagine that you're talking to somebody right in front of you. That's it. And type what you would say. Real simple. Okay? If you're an introvert, you're shy, if you're not very talkative, you got to push yourself a little. Little practice will get you there, right? You don't get there if you don't try. So many people are just afraid to try, period. And that's absolutely devastating. Okay. Let's see here. Scrolling on down and Photo Mix Media, what was my no reason on Google Business? So, if you are doing, let's see, think of some categories where Google Business want to help. So, if you're doing obviously the kind of work that I do, Google Business has no value to me whatsoever. I do not have a Google Business profile because there's no benefit, right? I'm not, operating a studio where I'm advertising for people to come in and do things, that type of thing. If you are doing social media for the purpose of just being able to find like-minded followers, essentially online friends to share photography knowledge with and share pictures with, no value there, etc. But yes, if you have a place of business and you are, trying to service an area like a town, then Google Business extremely valuable, in part because it puts you up at the top of the search listings when somebody searches for a photographer in that town. So there's definitely a lot of value to it. Okay. Let's see. Can I repost the PPA link? Yes, Tom. I did post it on Facebook, but I will post it right here. Bear with me 1 second. It's a long link, but I'm going to put it in the chat. There you go. That's the link that you need for PPA. You got to think like another week before that link expires. I apologize. I don't remember the cutoff date, but I'm pretty sure it's like 1 week and that expires. So it gets you your first month free, which basically allows you to essentially go in and sample everything PPA has to offer. You sign up, you're going to have full access when you do it. I'm not going to lie, gang. I am of the mentality. There we go. It's a great way to really get a sense of the depth of what's there and get all the fine details on what you're getting in terms of the business materials as well as the equipment insurance, all of that kind of stuff. So a couple more from Facebook here before we wrap it up for the night. Let's see. Scrolling on back. Actually, did I get most of them? It looks like I might have got most of them. Okay, so I didn't hear back from Brock. I don't know if let's see. And it looks like I think I have one more question left here. Doug says he uses Facebook for photography club that I run. It's a private group. Yeah, and I mean obviously that's that there's not as much marketing involved there. So that's one of those scenarios where you set your own rules. You run it the way that you see fit. So awesome. So that being said, gang, right? Part of the challenge that I see happening with so many people is Eric, thank you so much for the super chat. I appreciate it, man. They kind of start out in social media overwhelmed because, well, there's so many different choices and there's so many different platforms. And, do I need to post every day? I'll answer that one in a second, right before I sign off. And so it's like overwhelming, right? And it doesn't have to be overwhelming. Take a look at that information that I shared from Pew Research. You only need to post where the people who meet your why are at. So like if you want to do weddings, you do need to post on Pinterest. You're probably going to need to post on Instagram. And I would still actually encourage you to post on Facebook because brides, especially, if mom and dad are paying for the bill, they can be influenced by mom and dad. So nothing wrong with, mom and dad finding out about you, as well as, the bride finding out about you on Instagram and so on. So it's a matter of just looking to see, who is using the platforms and where the people are that you want to connect with. And then remember, when you're typing, you're not typing for you. You had the experience. You chose the lens. You picked the camera angle. You came up with all the settings. You did the post-processing. They didn't. So they don't have the attachment that you do to the picture. You have to give people a reason why. I mean, I'm hoping that most of you, if not all of you, otherwise, what the heck are you waiting for, have been to my Instagram profile. So I don't have a ton of Instagram followers, but I have a fair number, 19.7 thousand. Okay. 2 years ago, I had just over 2,000. It's about 18 months. I had just over 2,000 followers on Instagram because I didn't know what to do with Instagram. I don't mean I didn't know how to use it or what the rules were. I just meant, to me, it was shouting. Why should anybody care about my pictures? That made no sense for me. And then one day I did a post. I was working on a video and I did a post where I included the behind the scenes video clip and the lighting diagram and the gear information. And that post took off. And that's when the light bulb went on for me with what I do. It's, duh, Joe, you can teach in places other than YouTube. And so now when you look at my post, every post, it's the picture. I've got little videos talking about pieces of how I did the shot. I've got lighting diagrams that show how I did it. I've got the gear list. Some of these posts have little behind the scenes video clips, but every single post is a lesson. So given that my goal, the reason I'm on YouTube, the reason I do all this is because I want people to hire me to present. This is a way for me to educate people and provide value. So it's a matter of understanding the why, understanding who you're trying to talk to, and then help them, provide them value. If it's a bride, even if it's like for senior portrait, if you don't do senior portrait photography, right? So understand that mom and dad are paying the bill, but it's the 17-year-old that's either going to like your pictures or not. So it goes without saying, all this social media stuff, by the way, has no value if you're not really upping your game photographically, right? You need to take great pictures, period. But assuming that you're making strides to produce better pictures, then you've got to connect with that 17-year-old. And that doesn't mean like use language that makes you sound like you're 17 or anything like that. But it does mean show pictures and talk about things that make it fun. So as an example, let's say you're a high school senior portrait photographer, and the same goes for weddings, same goes for portraits, etc. There's no rule when we talk about, don't post 50 pictures. There's no rule though, just like with my Instagram post, it says you can't post the picture and then include a behind the scenes picture. The behind the scenes picture, literally, gang, we're talking like smartphone behind the scenes picture. So if you're doing a high school senior portrait session, it's 17-year-old, so you should have mom or dad there, or sibling, whatever, okay? So what you do at some point during the session, when you know you've got a really great frame, and you are working hard to provide a great experience to that kid in real time, they're having fun, you're going to open your phone up, set it on video horizontally, and you're going to give it to mom, dad, the sibling, whatever, and say, hey, just film this. And then you're going to call the kid, the subject, over. And as the kid comes up alongside of you, you're going to turn the camera around. You want to make sure the kid's looking towards, facing in the direction of wherever your phone's at. You're going to turn the camera around and you're going to press preview. And you're going to record the reaction shot. And then all you need is a little 15-second clip of, you doing the last couple frames of that kid. And then say, hey, come here, look at this. The kid comes over. It's like, wow. And then people see the kid going, wow. Kid's having a good time. Kid thinks the picture's amazing. That's better than any testimonial you could ever find, right? So when I say behind the scenes, I'm not talking about behind the scenes showing the lights and all that kind of cool stuff, because the people that are going to hire you don't care. Wedding photographers. How many of you that shoot weddings take a selfie with the bride and groom before the day is over. Why wouldn't you? You should be. And you need to make sure that when you do that selfie, it's fun. I don't just mean everybody like cheesing for the camera. Because what does that say? If you get 3 people all huddled together for a selfie and they're all cheesing, what does that say about the way you probably shoot weddings? A lot of cheese? It's not going to cut it, right? Make faces. Have a blast. Make it look like, and do it like at the end of the day. You want to do it like at the end of the night where everybody's like looking 3 sheets to the wind and half trashed. But you're going to get them focused for that one last selfie. And, you're going to give them something stupid to say, not hamburger, not cheese. Okay. But you're going to give them something to say where they're just going to laugh their asses off when they say it. And you're going to fire a bunch of frames and you're going to pick the goofiest, most ridiculous one. In fact, you guys see me do that all the time when I go to trade shows. Every picture that you ever see posted when somebody comes up and says, hey, can I take a picture of you? There's me going, right? Just to do something different. Make it fun. Make it interesting. Be a little creative, because that's what we're supposed to do as photographers. Think outside the box. Don't be boring. I mean, at the end of the day, gang, if you can't have fun taking pictures, if you can't have fun posting stuff on social media, if you can't have fun making money with your camera, then I have one simple question. Why are you doing it? Why do it? People emotionally gravitate to fun. You want people to care. You want people to gravitate to what you're doing. Have fun doing it and let people see that you have fun doing it. And then you don't have to try and convince anybody that you're passionate and all that kind of crap. Because those words the minute I hear somebody saying, well, I've been doing this forever. I'm really passionate about what I do. And, I want your experience to be great. That translates in my mind to like, blah, 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 blah. That's what that translates to. Okay. So again, thank you. Those of you on Facebook, awesome. I hope it was a good experience. I'm going to make it better because I want to do it this way every week. So you'll have the option, Facebook or YouTube. And those few little echoes that happen along the way, I'll solve that problem. Don't worry. This was my trial run. Also, if you've been paying attention, there hasn't been a Talk Chat podcast in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 3 weeks. Don't worry. It hasn't gone away. It's coming back online, a little bit different. Look forward to that. It'll be coming next week. And other than that, gang, have a great week. Thanks for spending the last hour with me. Please go pick up your cameras and shoot something because your best shot, it's your next shot. Adios, gang.